For me, looking back on it, it's crazy because I wasn't even an NBA prospect when I was 16 years old, right? Usually guys are. Then all of a sudden I'm an NBA prospect at 17. Within 2 years, I go from playing high school basketball to getting drafted. I was super skinny and fast, and that was my thing. You couldn't catch me. I would run down the court, get dunks, get blocks, I could handle it, I could shoot it. ABCD camp in Teaneck, New Jersey. It's 300 guys and a bunch of teams, and they just play games all day, every day, for 4 days straight. I'm ready, I'm focused. This is my only time in an All-American camp, and this is the first game. I'm like, all right, come on, let's go. All the college scouts are here, so this is my moment. I don't know who this dude was, but he was from Ohio. He wasn't like super big. He was still a good size for a 16-year-old. And so this dude came up to me and said, I got him. I'm checking him. I'm in my own mind. I said, man, check him. Who is that guy? Kept playing. And he was good enough to say, okay, who is this dude right here? Because I know I'm nice. I know who that is, because I gotta beat him and kill them all. Who's this guy? My coach told me it's LeBron James. Back then, the internet wasn't like that, so you just get the name with no picture. And back then, he, rose to prominence after he had a successful game against Oak Hill as a sophomore. And I mean, he did it all. He just had a complete game at that point in time, and that's kind of how it started. And then ever since then, it's like, haven't stopped hearing his name since. That's what people don't understand. I had the time of my life in Toronto. That was like pretty much an upbringing for me to be the person I am today. When I got drafted, you're happy and everything. I'm the only player in the draft that has to deal with going to another country. That's something that I didn't even anticipate and expect. Like, oh man, I had to have my passport with me every time. Or man, they use Monopoly money here. And they do kilometers per hour. You'll go places and people don't even know Toronto has an NBA basketball team. Like the Raptors, oh, the Rafters? That's what people always use, the Rafters? Is that the NBA? Like, yes. And it's a shell shock. And I was on a team where the next youngest guy was 25 years old, which is old, right? When you're a teenager. You have to get over the starstruckness because, you forget like, okay, I'm in the league, then Vince Carter is in practice with me. He would get on me if I didn't like go up strong or do anything, he'd be on me. He was making an effort to, hey, young fella, come on, do this. I tell people this all the time. Vince, he contained some of the most talent I've ever seen a basketball player possess. And I played with some great players. One of the tough things for me was to watch dudes I got drafted with, LeBron, Dwayne, Josh Howard. They're competing for championships right away. And he's in the playoffs and they're winning games and it must feel good. It was hard, man, really looking from the outside. You feel like you're not a part of things. My whole life was in Toronto. I think a lot of people get it wrong that there's no pressure and it's an easy decision. It's desensitized as far as like if you're a public figure, people are not gonna look at it the same way. Chicago was the first team to approach me at 12:01. 30 minutes later, Daryl Morey comes to my house. It's midnight. And they're going for the jugular. Chicago, that's a pretty good team. Houston, that's what you're gonna pay me? And it's gonna be built around me. I'm gonna be the guy for that, yes. I haven't seen that many numbers before. It's an extra number on there. Every meeting I left, I was confused. It's July, my father's in town. He's not even one of those type of dads. I think he just wanted to see it like, yo, let me just see this at least once. He's starstruck by Pat Riley. I will say that right off the bat because he was a grown man in the 80s. So he's like, the first thing he says, man, that's Pat Riley, man. Pat never sat down the whole time. He just pulls out a bag, puts championship rings out there. Everybody's quiet and doesn't even say anything. He takes off his suit jacket. He rolls up his sleeves. All right, let me tell you something. This is what it's about. And he goes into his stick and it's like, It was no numbers on the boards, there was no PowerPoint presentation. He set the tone as far as like making it about championships, because that's what he's about. Everybody knew that they had enough cap space for 3 max contracts. You know, it was what, me, Stoudemire, Boozer, Ron, D. It was quite a class, you know? So it was more so who. In my mind, if I go here and join D, it's gonna work out. We were glued just like anybody else, because he still had to make the decision and go through with it. And then like he did it, and then it was like, ah! I mean, it was like winning a championship. That night in Miami was, you know, it was crazy. So I played the All-Star game and then flew back and said, yo, I should not be feeling like this. You know, I couldn't breathe after a while, and like it got to the point where the whole left side of my body, it just hurt to move. Got my chest x-rayed, I got a collapsed lung, and they said, all right, you need to go to the emergency room. I go get a CT scan, and you can see through the window, the doctor's looking at, you know, the screen. And then there's another doctor, then there's another person, and then there's like 4 or 5 people just around the computer screen. I got up and opened the door and said, what's going on? What's up? You see that right there? You've got a blood clot. We're putting you in. And then, you know, he starts saying all these things. I'm like, all right, give me, you know, the blood thinner, put the oxygen thing in my nose. And that's when I was kind of like, yo, what are you doing? Like, no, you need this. The next 24 hours are crucial. And then at the same time, I'm looking at the TV and we just traded for Goran Dragic. You know, we're trying to turn our season around. So I'm just watching all this stuff like, what the hell is going on? I'm in the hospital in pain for 4 or 5 days. I think I'm going home, and you know, I got my lung drained. If you ever got your lung drained, that sucks. You don't get painkillers for that. They just stick the needle in there, you know what I mean? And so it got to the point where I'm like, you know, I had to threaten the doctor, which we're good friends to this day. He's super cool. But I told him, I said, man, I'm gonna throw you out that window if you stick me with that needle again, my man. And he said, all right, cool. They come back that evening saying, well, we have to do surgery on you because your lung has produced this gelatinous, scabby fluid that we cannot drain out. So we have to go in there and pretty much scrub you clean. You know, my heart goes out to people who have to spend days and weeks and months in hospitals. The energy is bad and you're in a dark mental place, and it wasn't until I left, you know, almost 2 weeks later that I realized that I hadn't been out the room, you know, the whole entire time. You realize how easy it could have went the other way. People die from that every day for whatever reason. I made it. I don't ask any questions. That makes me appreciate life and realize how fragile it really is. If you're doing something you love, if you're lucky enough, do it to the fullest. Don't, you know, waste your time by worrying about petty stuff. You never know when it's gonna be your last time stepping on the court. I can tell you that that is a real thing. So no matter what happens, I still have a positive outlook on life. I still feel great. I still feel myself. I'm still in my skin. That didn't break me.